Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Susan Neal-Fraser's fate now sits in the hands of a judge after her fight for an appeal under new legislation finally wrapped up today. The convicted murderer's final witness, a former detective turned true crime writer, was challenged on whether he knew if a crucial witness was threatened.
Susan Neal-Fraser's daughters, supporters and legal team walking from court after the last hearing in a landmark case.
The matter's now with the courts. We're hopeful that the truth will come out and that an innocent woman will be released. That's all we've ever been really interested is finding out truth.
Neal-Fraser is serving a 23-year jail sentence for murdering her partner Bob Chappell, who went missing from their boat off Sandy Bay in 2009. The final day in her fight for an appeal, hearing from Colin McLaren, a true crime writer and documentary maker who researched the case. He was cross-examined on his interactions with Megan Vass, a young homeless girl whose DNA was found on the yacht, who he told the court he suspected was involved. The judge hearing he drafted a document that Miss Vass went on to sign, admitting she was on the yacht. Challenged by prosecution, "You've completely fabricated this statement that you've drafted." He said no, it was consistent with what she told me. Miss Vass previously told the court she was forced into signing the statement. Prosecution asking if a female associate said to him she'd put Miss Vass in the boot if she didn't do it. Mr McLaren replying yes, but adding, "This is the underworld and that's how you speak. I told her you can't do that." In closing, prosecution attacking the account of Mr McLaren, but Neal-Fraser's lawyers say he's a man with considerable police experience, asking the court to accept he's a person of good character and background. Justice Brett saying in this application, it's not for him to decide if the evidence is true, but whether it might reasonably be true. After starting way back in October 2017, today the hearings finally came to an end. Justice Brett now left to consider the main point, whether there's fresh and compelling evidence that will pave the way for another appeal. Michael Breen, 7 Tasmania News.
Firefighters in the Central Highland have spent another day blacking out spot fires as cooler temperatures finally arrive. Crews are now pinning their hopes on rain as weeks of fatigue start to set in.
The full extent of a bushfire catastrophe laid bare on the Highlands Plateau. The Great Pine Tier fire has left nothing in its wake. Even in the scorched earth, the threat lingers.
The crews are fatigued, we're all fatigued. This has been going on for quite a while, but they're committed to doing the work that they need to do to try and pull this fire up.
55,000 hectares have been decimated since the fire began in December. 80 firefighters remain on the ground. The sky still crowded with helicopters. The fight still far from over.
The fire took a large run to the north on Sunday out towards Reynolds Neck through some excellent operations through crews, backburning and asset protection. They minimised damage to infrastructure there.
This is how close the fire came to Reynolds Neck on the weekend. A shed incinerated, literally on the very edge of the shack community. Thankfully it was the only property lost. The area has now been completely deserted. In nearby Lyowini, crews assessed damaged power lines. Rain is forecast this week. Crews hope it will be enough to make an impact.
Until it actually hits the ground, and we're confident with the amount of rain that we get, it's not going to put the fire out, but it'll allow us to actually make some inroads, particularly in those remote areas.
But people can't be complacent. There are still a lot of watch and act alerts out there. They can change and become emergency warnings.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Australia's Climate Council is warning bigger bushfires will become part of the Tasmanian way of life unless global warming is better addressed. The Council's Weather Gone Wild report has found the past 4 years have been the hottest on record for global surface temperatures.
In Tasmania, we're seeing a bushfire crisis, which has been driven by a number of factors influenced by climate change. We're seeing an increase in dry lightning, which triggers the fire, and then why the fire continues to burn is drier and hotter conditions, which fuels those fires in an ongoing way.
This year, Tasmania experienced its driest January on record. A protest against a coal mine proposed for Queensland will leave from Tasmania in April prior to the federal election. The demonstration, expected to be a convoy of about 800 electric vehicles, will travel to the Adani site along Australia's east coast.
Coal mining, and whether Adani goes slow or fast, the end result is the same, is injecting billions of tonnes of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and that threatens our economic, employment and environmental well-being.
The mine is tipped as a major election issue. The state government is promising to negotiate in good faith with the Education Union, which is threatening more industrial action. As thousands of Tasmanian students return to school today, the union says the Education Minister has until February 12 to progress talks over classroom resourcing, or teachers will walk off the job. But Jeremy Rockcliffe says the government is already making big investments into the system.
I would urge the union to not disrupt schools, rather sit down, work in good faith with the government.
Summerdale Primary School welcomed its newest students today with the principal on hand to help anxious parents and children.
When you've been in a school for a long time, that's easy to do because you know the children and the families really well, and thank goodness I only had to do that with 1 or 2 children this morning. It's been a really smooth and settled start.
62,000 students started their school year this week in Tasmania. Tasmania Police says it will have a high-profile presence at the Party in the Paddock Festival, which begins tomorrow. Uniform and plainclothed police will monitor the White Hills event, along with drug detector dogs. Police are asking patrons to be respectful of others, especially in the mosh pit. Tasmanian patients living with a form of brain cancer can now access the latest radiation treatment without having to fly interstate. The delivery of the cutting-edge therapy at a clinic in Hobart, hoping to make tough times easier.
For 6 years, Christine Dale has been dealing with various forms of cancer. Recently, she was told it was in her brain, meaning she would need to travel to Melbourne for stereotactic radiation therapy.
I wouldn't have minded going to Melbourne, but I didn't really want to. It was just another stress on top of everything else.
But thanks to this piece of equipment here at Hobart's Icon Cancer Centre, Christine was able to stay in her home state for treatment, becoming the first patient to ever undergo it in Tasmania.
Came in here for 3 treatments, 3 separate days with a day in between to rest. Quite simple, quite straightforward.
Christine says being able to undertake the cutting-edge therapy near home was a huge weight off her shoulders.
Having it here locally, where I had my family and my friends around, made it much easier.
So the patient can have the treatment and then go the same night to have like dinner with the family.
The treatment delivers a high dose of radiation directly to lesions in the brain. It focuses on one area without damaging surrounding brain tissue.
Ideally for small brain tumours, so the spread of radiation to the normal brain tissue is very minimal, so the side effects are much less than when we treat with the conventional whole brain radiation therapy.
The centre has been running for a year now and sees up to 30 people a day for a range of cancer treatments, providing support and hope to those affected and their loved ones. Louise Hedger, 7 Tasmania News.
As the Hobart Hurricanes look to secure a home Big Bash final against the Melbourne Renegades at Blunston Arena tomorrow night, players will have extra incentive to perform in front of the home crowd. The Canes partnering with TasSal to do their bit for those affected by the Tasmanian bushfires.
We're going to donate $1,000 to every 6 hit on the night. We're really pleased the state government's come on board and they're going to match that as well. And we've had other businesses that have kindly joined the cause too.
We don't often get a chance to make this kind of difference in the community, but it's a privilege
that we're greatly enthusiastic about taking up.
Those attending the game are also being asked to support the cause by donating on the night. The stage is about to be set for the Australian Tourism Awards, which will attract more than 800 tourism leaders to Launceston's Cataract Gorge. Locals are being reminded the Gorge public pool will be closed from Friday next week until the March long weekend to make way for construction of the event's stage. Swimmers are being asked to use alternative options.
The chairlift will still be operating, they can still walk around, they'll still be able to swim in the basin. But those that want to swim in a controlled area, a protected area like the pool itself, will have to go then obviously to the aquatic centre.
Most other awards are held in a conference centre, which is a lot less work, but it's pretty boring. The fact that we'll have a glass wall that looks straight into the gorge.
It will be only the third time the awards have been held outside a capital city since they began in 1985. Hobart's waterfront was buzzing with activity today, with boats of all shapes and sizes arriving for the iconic Wooden Boat Festival. Around 200,000 people are expected to head to the docks over the weekend, ready to meet some very special guests.
The end of a long journey, this once dilapidated yacht sailing from Sydney to Hobart as its final test.
To see the boat floating was great, to see it across Bass Strait was even better, and to be finally here is really cool.
For the crew of disadvantaged young people, it comes after a year of restoration, teaching life-changing skills along the way.
Tons of different woodworking skills, confidence with power tools and hand tools, lots of different trade skills, and I've got an apprenticeship in boat building.
I just like the ocean. It's fun to be out on it. I just love the sea.
Can't buy this, you know. This is not for sale. There they are. There's the kid. They started 12 months ago, and now they're a team, and they're a team with a future.
Ready for the iconic Wooden Boat Festival to begin on Friday.
In any one day, you'd probably see about 50,000 people on the waterfront, and we're open for 4 days, so that's about 200,000 visitors over 4 days.
Also arriving, the Navy ship HMAS Choules, carrying the Mistral 2, once a competitor in the first Sydney to Hobart yacht race, now in need of a makeover.
Also run a training program for the next couple of years with young people who are sort of job ready but have no workplace experience. And so we'll run a structured workplace. They'll learn a lot of skills.
The first task, getting it to dry land.
This one's a little bit unusual, but it's what we train for. It's using all the equipment that we train to do, so it's well within our capability to be able to do this.
Free tickets to tour the Navy ship are available online. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
Department stores need to find new ways to entice customers through their doors to compete with online retailers. So David Jones has showcased the art of fashion at our famous Mona Museum. The parade was the launch of David Jones's autumn-winter collection.
Some of Tasmania's most prominent horse racing identities have condemned in-battle trainer Darren Weir, claiming he should have been banned for life from the sport. Trainers also fiercely denying any similar acts of cruelty have ever taken place here at home. As the Melbourne Cup winning trainer was being handed a 4-year ban for cruelty by Racing Victoria, those who've spent decades growing the sport in Tasmania couldn't hide their disappointment.
He deserves everything he gets. They should throw the book at him and I'd give him life. There's my personal opinion, and a lot of people agree with me.
I understand the pressures of big results and big races and things like that, but you know, it's just it's baffling for me. Using electric shock jiggers in an attempt to make his horses run faster, rags to riches trainer Darren Weir has now been labelled a high-level cheat.
I think it's far more reaching than we're seeing at the moment.
One of those things that you've heard about, was talked about, but never seen myself, so I never used. I've seen a cattle prodder, and I know what the end result is, and I wouldn't be doing it to a horse, let alone myself. It's been a real knife in the guts for the industry. But Brunton says he's more focused on Sunday's Hobart Cup, with his horse Count Da Vinci drawing barrier 3 today, and he'll be hoping the gelding can recreate the form which saw him take out the 2017 race despite some recent injury niggles. The nerves, you get the knots in the guts already because you know you're a red hot chance and there's no better feeling than winning your hometown cup, and I reckon I got the right horse to do it.
The Geared Stable's big hope, Gigi's Golden Girl, will start from barrier 4, and while the locals are well aware their runners can't miss a beat against the mainland and international competition, they'll be relishing the challenge come Sunday.
They said to me, why don't you go to Melbourne? I said, well, bring them here. I'll take them on here, on our own turf.
For the second year running, the Tasman Bridge is set to be fully closed for the annual Hobart Run the Bridge, following discussions between organisers and Tasmania Police, along with the Department of State Growth. The Sunday, February 17 event will see around 4,000 runners taking part, including 6 Olympians, with the bridge set to be closed off at 7 o'clock, reopening to motorists at 9 a.m. The bell is about to ring for Tasmanian Championship Wrestling's biggest night of the year. Annihilation 6 will feature bold moves and brash personalities when the top title contenders go face to face. And today we found out just what it takes to become King of the Ring.
From a flip smackdown to a frog splash. These are Tasmania's Hulk Hogans, the regular 9-to-5 workers who take on a brand new persona when it's time to perform.
My main moves is me. I am the move. I'm Zach Archer.
Inside this warehouse, they're preparing to make macho magic for the biggest show of the year. Annihilation 6 is on Saturday night at the Albert Hall. It's the show these wrestlers build up to all year, and it'll be the first time 23-year-old teacher Grady Lynch has wrestled under lights.
If we get a few bruises, a few scratches, that's fine compared to, you know, the joy and entertainment we bring other people.
The show has built a loyal and growing fan base.
They'll tell you, oh, I'm not into wrestling, I don't get it, and then once they've been once, can't keep them away. They're like, this is the best thing I've ever seen, you guys are amazing. So that's satisfying when you can get those type of people and convince them to come back.
Perfect. Smashed it, mate. But what happens when these titans turn on a timid reporter?
Tom, you're just my next Burns victim.
Thomas the Tank Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Thomas the Tank Johnson, putting his body on the line for our amusement.
They could have killed him.
Good evening. A few showers over the north and east today, but mostly fine and cloudy. Hobart 24, Launceston 22, Burnie 19 today, and Devonport 21. Strawn 27 degrees, Grove and Ouse 26, Friendly Beaches 22 today, Smithton and St Helens 21, Low Head and the Islands 20, and Wynyard the best fall of rain to 3 p.m. with 6 millimetres. That was brought about by the cloud that moved over the north and east today. Some middle and high cloud streamed over the top of the rain-bearing cloud. A band with embedded thunderstorms was over east and south Australia and Victoria. Extensive cloud continues over northern Queensland with more cloud spotted over Western Australia. Tomorrow, a low moves over the state and the monsoon trough remains active over the tropics. The northeasterly winds will tend more norwesterly tomorrow morning and should ease from the numbers you see there to around 10 to 15 knots late tomorrow afternoon. A severe weather warning for heavy rainfall for parts of northern Tasmania and a strong wind warning from Flinders Island to southeast Cape. And for tomorrow, Hobart, rain and a possible storm, 27 for Cygnet and New Norfolk, similar forecast for 28 degrees. Launceston, rain, possible storm, some heavy falls and 25, 23 for Devonport and 26 for Campbelltown with a storm maybe as well. Possible morning storm and some rain for Burnie, 23, 25 for Strawn, same forecast for Smithton and 25, while for St Helens tomorrow, there it is again, rain and a possible storm, 25, 26 for Swansea and Fingal. UV, still though, very high to extreme. On Friday, a shower likely over the west, far south and parts of the east. Early showers on Saturday, but fine and partly cloudy for most of the state. Mainly fine on Sunday, apart from a shower over the west and far south. A partly cloudy 23 for Cup Day in Hobart. Hot with a possible storm in Perth tomorrow. Sunny and 30 in Adelaide. A local thunderstorm for Melbourne. Partly cloudy for Sydney and showers easing from Brisbane. Cloudy in Hobart, 21 at the moment, 21 in Launceston, cloudy and 18 in Devonport. Joe, let's hope the rain falls where it's needed tomorrow. You stay out of it. We don't want your hair going too curly.
It's a bit of a hazard, isn't it? All right, thanks so much for that, Murph. It's all from the team for tonight. Have a lovely evening and we'll see you a bit later with updates. Bye-bye.